The Spects was kind of depressed at one point today, and then he was happy.
It all turned around.
I just want them not to do well. I want them to do well in the first half. Is that too much to ask?
That's basically what Lincoln Riley said in the post game.
Yeah, it's like that's all I ask. I'm not gonna be like a win's a win. I don't necessarily care about where they get the win. I'm just like, hey, can maybe possibly do it sooner? That would be nice.
Blow them out every once in a while.
I don't even necessarily want them to blow them out necessarily, but I'm just like, I just want consistent play. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, I'm like, am I really gonna get upset that they're making the adjustments at halftime and those adjustments are being done well and executed well?
They made quite the adjustment from first half to second half.
It
was 28-0 in the second half, I think.
Yeah, so it's like,
they end up scoring?
It was 28-0. Yeah.
So I mean,
28-0.
So clearly, whatever they're doing, the adjustments they make at half, are work. So
yeah.
Am I really in the position to be upset that they play better in the second half? I think I think that's a very dumb way to look at it, is to be upset they're a better second half team, because that's what I'd prefer.
Yeah, it's better than the other way around, right? Where they get out to hot starts and then fall apart. So
I was gonna say it's better than what BYU did today. But that's literally what happened to us.
So I guess I can't complain. Like, they bounced back from Michigan, which was a hard loss. So I mean, clearly it's just they're working. It's working. It's just I want to see him play a full game, I guess.
My reaction to that game was two things. One, Miller Moss does look like he could potentially be a good future NFL quarterback. Not necessarily not necessarily a huge star from what I've seen, but he could at the very least be a very good journeyman quarterback.
He could be I think he'd be serviceable in the right spot.
Yeah, I think under the right system he makes decent throws. He's got a good zip on the ball. There's the thing with Riley. There.
The thing with Riley is Riley's he's had three number one overall picks in Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Caleb Williams. I mean, Spencer Rattler was under him for a little bit. He also got drafted. So I mean, he has this history of making quarterbacks.
What's funny is this is a Clay Helton guy.
Yeah, so Clay Helton could have drafted him, but Riley, he wouldn't be this good with Clay Helton.
No, probably not.
So I mean, clearly, it's like having a guy who at least, quote unquote, is like an offensive guru. I think he's a little overrated personally. I think Lincoln Riley skates a little bit. That decisions he makes, they don't really. No one wants to press them nationally, even though I think they should. But I think USC's in at least a good spot where they're in the Big Ten. They're probably a top 3 team in there, behind Ohio State and Oregon being 1-2. Then I would say it's probably USC, Michigan, Penn State.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I think so. If they keep doing what they're doing. Because they play Penn State at home in a couple weeks, and I think that'll be. I think USC. If USC does what they've been doing, they should win that game. Not necessarily handedly, but they should win. I mean, it's not like what you guys are in with the Big Ten, where it's like anyone's game.
Yeah.
Well, and then my other reaction to that was, do you think Caleb Williams is watching this defense play so much better this year? And is thinking, why couldn't they have just had this defensive coordinator and this defensive scheme a year sooner so I could win a national title?
I mean, I think he is, but I think too when you're first. I mean, he could have stayed. There was talk that he kind of was considering it. I don't know how true that was, but there was the thought of depending on who had the pick, he would stay.
No, I mean, the Bears were one of the teams that he talked about, if the Bears have it, we're not going to Yeah,
He,
and then they still did.
probably should. He probably shouldn't. He probably should have stayed.
Gotten better. He probably could have gotten better coaching elsewhere.
But unless, so the whole thing is too, and we talked. I think CJ and I talked about this both in like the half episodes. Is Matt Eberflus is going to get fired. He's not going to after this year. He's gone. Eberflus is going to be gone. They're going to they'll hire somebody else. Well, hilariously, I think it'd be funny if they hired Cliff Kingsbury. That would be absolutely hilarious to me. But I wouldn't shock me if that's what the Bears did, is gone after somebody like Cliff, because what he's doing with what's his face in Washington,
Jaden Daniels.
With Jaden Daniels in Washington, I can see the Bears being like, can you do that with Caleb, since you kind of worked with Caleb last year? So I'm wondering if that's the direction they'll go, is they'll try to get Cliff. Because there was the rumors that if the Bears were going to try to get Williams and Lincoln, just bring Lincoln with them.
Yeah,
and that didn't happen. So I wonder if Cliff doing well as an OC gives him another job as a head coach for a more talented offense than he had in Arizona.
I weirdly don't see Lincoln Riley as a NFL. I think
coach.
I think when it comes to Lincoln Riley, I think there will always be the temptation for him to go, but I think at the end of the day, he can develop, and I think he'd rather develop at the collegiate level than at the pro level.
Yeah, no, it's the same thing. It's the same thing for Lincoln Riley. I feel like that you had with Urban Meyer for a long time there. It's great college coach, great at recruiting.
Oh my God.
Did Georgia come back?
Georgia came all the way back.
Oh my gosh!
Down 5 right now.
They were getting blown out. They just threw a touchdown to Dylan Bell, 67 yards.
Oh, to take the lead?
To take the lead in the fourth quarter with 2.5 minutes left. 34-33. Whoa! Alabama is gone silent.
That is a choke job.
My question for you guys is do you think this happens with Saban at the helm still?
Hell no.
No, Saban goes.
Hell no.
Saban goes for the throat.
They run that score up to 60-7.
Bro, Saban don't care. Saban don't care, man. Saban's the kind of coach you want at the collegiate level, where it's just like, oh my God, this is wild. And they're going for 2. This is insane. 2.5 minutes to go.
They got it.
Rather than 2,
yeah.
He tried. I mean, they got the lead, 2.5 left. Oh, that was unbelievable.
That's
wow.
incredible.
UGA came all the way back.
Wow, man.
They're ranked number 2 for a reason, right?
Listening back to this in a few days.
I know, right? Like, what the hell are they talking about?
They're like,
it's just live reaction.
Live reaction.
Or something, you know.
I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah. All right. So USC isn't the only team that won today. Want to talk about BYU?
The other 2 teams, we can do BYU.
Yeah.
BYU. I will tell you this.
I thought all 3 of the teams were playing at the same time. I didn't realize BYU played at 9:30.
Yeah, they played earlier.
Oh yeah, they played at 10 this morning. Yeah, for CJ 9 for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, they so that was an interesting thing. BYU going into the game had lost 10 of these day games in a row, and so
jeez, really?
Yeah, and so there was a lot of BYU fans that were like super nervous about this. And then BYU came out and went up 21-0 to start. And it was like, oh, great, this is awesome. And then all of a sudden they just kind of like took their foot off the gas. They had some injuries, and it was just like they had to hold on at the very end. But they were able to have a Crew Wakely had an interception at the end of the game. And BYU's 5-0. And last year they went 5-7. So
doing well.
Pretty solid improvement.
Unless we slide for the rest of the year. Which isn't impossible, I guess, but you know.
Just
you still get to play Kansas. You'll get another win at least.
Alabama just scored.
What?
Oh my God! What a throw! What, he overcommitted? Oh no!
But no. So this is this is the thing. we'll talk about Colorado beating UCF in a sec.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing that made me happy because now I'm like the next 3 games. So BYU has this really like crazy stretch the next 3 games where they play what's it called, Arizona, and then they play Oklahoma State, and both of those are at home, and then they go on the road and they play UCF.
Yep.
And UCF's been really good, or pretty good this year. They've looked pretty decent.
Yeah.
But Colorado beat them pretty handily, and Colorado just barely beat Baylor.
Yep.
But BYU wasn't having that hard of a time against Baylor for a lot of it. So I'm wondering, like, maybe we have a good chance at all 3 of these games. So
Alabama's lining up going for 2.
Well, yeah, you got to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they get the?
Oh
2?
yeah, because you want to put the
They got the 2. Ooh, I don't know. Wait, that might have hit the ground. Ooh, you might want to look at that one. Oh, can we get a review on that? I think he trapped it.
You review stuff. Just ask the Miami game last night.
I did see that. Can we talk about that? I only saw a screenshot.
So I'm done with my BYU stuff. Just
okay.
My only other thing about BYU, by the way, is just the fact that it's so crazy that they were projected to be like the bottom of the Big 12, and now everybody's like, could they compete for the Big 12? Like now I'm rooting for a undefeated matchup between BYU and Utah in November 12. Because that would be so much fun just to see them go at it.
The Big 12 is wide open. There's no one.
Seriously.
It is.
Utah's maybe the most favored, but like even then, like they could still.
The thing with Utah is, and I mean, just plain seeing in the Pac-12 is they'll all.
Well, and the thing with Utah
you're gonna say
Cam Rising's still a question mark for the.
You're gonna say I'm biased when I say this, but I always think BYU's. I always think Utah. Since I've been paying attention again, I always think Utah's been slightly overrated for what they do. Because especially now they're playing nobody. It's like Miami. I think Miami's very overrated because they're playing nobody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they beat Oklahoma State last week, and Oklahoma State's supposed to be pretty good this year.
Yeah.
So
we'll see how things play out.
They look good, but yeah, I do think sometimes their fans are just a little overconfident in their abilities. But right now, the big question mark for them is Cam Rising. He again is sitting out this week, so it's he lacerated his hand apparently, or maybe broke it or something. I don't know. And so they keep asking, and he floats it in pre-games. So
shifting gears to the other Big 12 school.
Let's go Buffs. Let's go Buffs,
Colorado, dude. It looks like Shedeur threw a dime again today to one Travis Hunter.
Yeah, Travis Hunter is absolutely disgusting. That diving interception, that's like every game he has a giant defensive play. He plays every snap. I cannot wait for him to be a Bronco next year.
Apparently Richard Sherman just doesn't like him. And
Richard Sherman is an idiot. Okay, talking about him being a bland receiver, he's had some of the craziest catches I've seen this year. Like the one against Colorado State where he's falling out of bounds, getting assaulted by the guy. It's incredible.
The thing with Richard Sherman is, I think Richard Sherman just thinks everyone's beneath him.
He is, yeah. He's got probably the biggest ego I've ever seen out of a football player.
He often just says stuff just to get a rise out of people.
Oh, he does. He is ESPN's favorite analyst, even though he doesn't work for ESPN. That's like their favorite type of analyst.
Yeah, he just says things.
Yeah, so
you have to pay him to come on and say crazy stuff.
He'll do it for free.
Years ago, he went on like First Take and told Skip Bayless he was smarter than him.
Yeah. So
he said, "I'm smarter than you."
Whatever. Richard Sherman, whatever. Cam Newton doing the same stuff, whatever. Like they're just jealous.
Newton, the best line I heard from Cam Newton was him saying that if Eli Manning gets into the Hall of Fame, he should get 2 jackets. And I'm like, that's a bold claim.
That's bold and incorrect.
I'm like, brother, I saw you play.
It's like, damn, how many Super Bowls you got, Cam Newton?
You ain't that good. How many times you beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl? Oh, that's right, none.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that CU playoff berth because our defense finally doesn't suck. That was the big thing today. Is they, at least for the first half, they shut off UCS rushing. And then the second half, in the third quarter, UCF got to rush a little bit more. But at that point, we were already up. Like I think we were up 13 at half anyway, and they couldn't catch up. So the defensive line, especially for CU, and then their running game was really good to see because we haven't had that for the last year and 4 games basically. So I'm excited. Playoffs inbound. Let's go. We're winning the Big 12. We'll play BYU in the championship. I don't remember if the Big 12 has divisions or not, but
I think they're all kind of the same.
No, it's top two.
is
Yeah.
it just top two? Okay. I know some of them have like a north-south or whatever, like the SEC. So cool.
But no, yeah, I think I don't know. I don't know what to make of Colorado because like
I get it. We've been bad for 25 years.
No, and it was also that game against North Dakota State to start the year.
Yeah,
I think they won, but we
won by like 5. It was kind of close, but again, it's North Dakota State
really close
too.
for a game against North Dakota State. So
hold on, where's D2 standings, or where's North Dakota State? Are they even good? I hope they're good.
Make you feel
Make me feel better. Yeah.
Well, and the only other thing I say is
they're 4-1.
I don't know. The only other reason I don't know what to make of Colorado is because last year they had this similar kind of start where they started really hot and everybody was like, "Oh, it's Colorado."
It did,
and then they
fell apart. Yeah, we went 1-7 for the last 8 games.
7 the rest of the way. Yeah,
BYU
was similar. BYU started off 4-1, and then they ended up going 5-7. So it was like 1-6 the rest of the way. So it was like.
Yeah.
1-6 or so. So it's just like nope.
You're right.
But that's my thing for this year is with BYU is if they can get to 6-0 against Arizona, I'll be so relaxed the rest of the season because it's like if they lose, I'll be bummed like for the rest of the year. But at least I won't be sitting here going, but are we going to even be bowl eligible? It'll be like, okay, if we lose, we lose. It's like, this is more of what I expected. But but yeah. Anyways, but Colorado is like it's like BYU where you didn't necessarily expect them to do well, and now you're wondering like. What is actually the limit for them?
Yeah, and I totally understand. And last year injuries kicked us hard, especially like Travis Hunter got hurt halfway through the season against CSU, missed a couple weeks. Shedeur Sanders was battling injuries last year. But I will say, like at least this year, our offensive line is it's obviously better than it was last year. Last year, Shedeur was running for his life every game. This year, at least, he's not doing it nearly as much. He's still running for his life occasionally, but it's not nearly as bad. And then again, our defensive line is much better than we were last year. So I agree. There's definitely like is this for real type of question, but I'm a little more bullish on it because I do think they improved in the right spots to make this at least somewhat sustainable. Like you said, get to 6 wins and we're bowl eligible, and I'm good. So I'll take the playoff if that just happens to show up.
Yeah. Well, this year BYU has a guy on their bench that luckily we haven't had to play yet because I'm not sure what to think of him yet. They got a guy from Colorado called Isaiah Yada.
Okay.
And he was on the O-line for the Buffs last year, so I'm like, but then BYU has this guy who used to play for Oklahoma State. What's his name? Oh my gosh, he plays left tackle for us. Mike Gundy sounded like so happy to get rid of him when he came to BYU.
Oh really?
But now he's like our big like he could potentially, if he keeps playing the way he is, he could potentially end up being drafted.
Oh nice.
Which BYU's had like a couple of these left tackles drafted. What's his name? BYU left tackle, and he was really bad for us last year too. So, but this year he's been like
actually good.
He's been like really good. Caleb Etienne, that's what his name is.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He played for Oklahoma State, and like I said, it was like Mike Gundy was kind of like, I'm not so mad that he's gone. It's like, Gundy, he's just like, he'll say whatever he thinks.
Right.
So what happened last night in the Miami to end the Miami Virginia Tech game? I wasn't home. I was playing Magic, and I saw a single picture. So
it was a poorly officiated ending. It really was. I mean, so Virginia Tech was trying to throw a last second Hail Mary to win the game, and the ball came down. It was one of those ones where it looked like it was caught by multiple guys, and originally, like I saw that live and I was like, oh no, they didn't quite get it. That's the game. And then all of a sudden, one of the referees was just like, oh, touchdown, which is like a mistake. It's like if you don't see it for sure, then don't call it.
Oh, is it like the whole incomplete touchdown from the NFL like a decade ago?
He called the right judge called the touchdown. But it's like there's no way you saw that live. And like replay show, it might have been a legit touchdown, but like there's no way you saw that live. But then you're going to the replay and there's no clear angle of anything.
Oh no, of course not.
They didn't have the right down the back end zone.
Like we reversed the call, and I'm like, what did you see? There's no way you saw anything. And what they said was, well, one of the defensive players had some of his hands on it, and he was out of bounds. And it's like,
okay,
but the offensive player had.
He didn't have. But the offensive player looks like he might have had control of the ball.
Whereas the offense gets the tie in those cases.
What was the call on the field?
Call on the field was touchdown. And they overturned it to incomplete.
What was crazy was they took so long to call the touchdown that Miami started celebrating. They were like, oh, we got it, because they thought they picked it off.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, my. And like all the LEDs are doing their like flashing thing and everybody's celebrating. But then all of a sudden it's like, the previous play is under further review. The ruling on the field is a touchdown. And you're just like, in all honesty, my opinion of what happened there was the refs were talking about it. They were like, oh, I don't know. There's not enough to overturn it. And the referee from like ACC corporate was like, hey, no, we need Miami to win this. So reverse it and give whatever. Or
the whole thing is like there's not enough to confirm it. I don't know. To be fair, I feel like ACC. There's so many referees like with conferences that are just trash to begin with. Like the Pac-12 with targeting last year, it was just horrid.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm sure it's the same thing of like it's just bad.
Okay, speaking of the Pac-12, do we want to talk the Pac-12 or do we want to talk the UNLV guy first?
Let's do the UNLV guy. The Pac-12 might break in if something wild happens.
I can't remember his first name, but Sluka, the UNLV quarterback, who had a good first few games and had UNLV at like 3-1 or something, or something like that.
They were undefeated,
or 3-0. Or maybe they're undefeated. So he comes out and he says, I'm gonna red shirt for the rest of the year because I was told I was gonna get his agent released a statement basically saying we were told we were gonna get $100,000 in NIL, and they said nope, we're gonna give you $3,000 a month. And so it sounds like, I mean, nobody knows for sure, but it sounds like a UNLV coach, like one of their assistants, was like, "Yeah, we can get you 100,000 easy. We got so many boosters. This is Vegas." And then when it actually came time to try to like pay off on that, people were like, "No, we ran this by us. We didn't have that. So no, we're not giving you 100,000. You're already here. So why would we give you money to try to like?" So he's, And with their backup quarterback today playing so well, I mean, what was his stat line?
He had 182 yards throwing and 119 rushing, and accounted for 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, so like
solid.
He had he had really good game.
Yeah,
honestly,
he did.
I was gonna say I'm trying to see if there's any like
13 for 16
that were not good. No, he played really well. There's no like he turned the ball over. He just came out and balled out, and so it's like he's never seen that NIL money to Sluka. Yeah, but he showed enough talent, I think, to show he will get money somewhere next year. Back. Yeah. So Spects is here. We'll just
update on the
Georgia
Alabama game. We missed a clear pass interference on Alabama in front of the referee.
Oh, and offsides.
Yeah, I don't know how he missed that. He didn't turn his head around and basically clotheslined the guy. Back to the podcast.
Oh.
Yeah, what the hell? That's encroachment. Free play?
Encroachment doesn't exist.
False start. Shut the Herb Street. Shut. Oh, Herb Street's starting to piss. God, I hate Herb. I've always hated Kurt Herb Street, to be honest.
Herb Street's the man, dude. He's better than a
I
lot
heard
of the
all
color
sides
guys.
is what I heard.
Okay, good. Somebody said false start, and I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about, Herb Street? You stupid imbecile!"
You know what I miss is NCAA 14 with Herb Street. Just like you'd go for it on fourth down, and he'd be like, "I don't know about this. Oh, this is terrible, just awful calling by the coach."
And then you get it, and it's like, "Oh,
Right." All right. But yeah, I mean,
looks like Alabama's won.
Did Alabama win? Okay.
They got the interception.
That's
Am I ahead
PI
of you?
again. That's another pass.
That should be pass
It
interference.
should be. That's two of them. What the hell is this?
I mean, technically, Georgia. Well, no, Georgia has
doesn't-
2 timeouts. There's no time to.
But they miss another one. This guy doesn't turn around. He did it again. So there's 2 missed pass interference calls that no one's. All right, whatever. Alabama once again sold its soul to Satan, and they're gonna win again.
Alabama. Let's go.
Face mask or legal hands to the face. Yeah, he pushed off. These referees are god awful. Where's the nearest ref there?
I mean, it's probably good for Alabama to win, right? Isn't that the?
It's good for it's good
SEC
for
way.
ESPN. Well, it's good for
Yeah,
ESPN.
loves it. Though
ESPN
Georgia's
loves
been
it.
good enough where either one works. Honestly, if they're both going like win out, they're making the playoffs. So does this
Well, they
game
have
really
a
matter?
they're in the same. I mean, they'll meet again in the title game more than likely. 'Cause
Right, but I mean, if that one they both end up with the same record, they're both gonna make it, regardless if one loses in the title game or not, with the extended playoff.
yeah, but it doesn't help when they miss like two big PIs
Yeah.
that no one's gonna acknowledge because Kurt Herbstreit's a filthy Alabama.
Alabama's
Kurt Herbstreit will
Alabama's
suck off.
light people are a little early.
Yeah.
They saw the taking a knee, and they're like, "Do all the night celebrations."
They should really throw a flag. All I want is I just want college football to be consistent with their flags and their penalties, and they're not, and that's an issue that needs to be corrected.
The thing is,
Like,
though, we
this
don't
should-
even get that in other sports with a more
No, but I mean,
centralized
but the whole
refereeing body.
But
Like-
my point is like usually 99 times out of 100, if the cornerback doesn't turn around,
Should be
it's a
pass
PI.
interference, yeah.
and
100%.
there's a clear miss PI that should have done this game on the same guy who got the win, that no one's gonna mention because Paul Feinbaum's gonna be sucking off Jalen Melrose and all this. So it's another one where no one. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I hate it. I want Alabama to go away.
Well, yeah.
Georgia was robbed. MIO.
Yeah, probably.
Georgia will be fine. They'll do what they do. They win.
I was gonna say they'll
win the
still probably be in the playoff because
Yeah.
the SEC basically owns the playoff committee. So
Right. So like at that point, that is the one kind of downside of this.
games. They could lose like 3 games, and there'll be like an undefeated Big 12 team that's probably more deserving. They'll be like, "No, Georgia,
Yeah, it'll be
Georgia should
BYU.
be in."
It'll be BYU's that one.
But UNLV. So this does that whole like compensation thing does like bring in some really weird questions about the what is it called?
God, SMU beat the snot out of Florida State. Holy crap.
Florida State sucks though. Like they got killed by everybody except for Cal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cal,
no,
they're-
Florida State. That was a bit. I still hold to. They got screwed last year.
No,
Florida
they
State.
could get screwed last year, sure, 100%, but they suck this year.
I mean, like it's just kind of funny to be like, "Oh well, maybe I
That's-
was wrong last year." Maybe.
That's true.
Florida
People are
State
like,
sucks.
"See, told you." It's like it's not even the same roster as college football. It changes so much year after year.
But I still retweeted myself and said and said that maybe I was wrong last year, but no, I just think I am afraid of the day when they finally announce like we're going to create a super league between the Big Ten and the SEC, and that is it. That will be the championship, because then it's like I don't want to watch that.
Yeah, I mean,
I legit if it gets down to a point where it's like just two super leagues and like my team's on the outside looking in, I'm not watching that. I'll watch BYU until I die, basically. And they, I won't watch Georgia and Ohio State, go after each other every year.
Right. Even though that's what like ESPN wants.
That is, and that's why it's going that direction.
It is eventually. I mean, that's the thing.
I'm hoping the SEC and Big Ten just kind of say, all right, well, we're going to take what's good in the ACC and then take most of the Big 12, and maybe BYU slides in as good enough, and then BYU can get slaughtered by USC every year. So Brandon will be happy, or Spects will be happy.
I mean, I wonder why they don't do kind of a relegation system anyway, for similar to the English Premier League. Take the top 30 teams. I think every sport should do this, but like
every sport should have
college sports especially go top 30 as a league, next 30 is a league, next 30 is a league, and then every year like the bottom 3 and the top 3 swap for leagues, similar to the EPL. I think that would be a much better product, because you end up getting like these group of 5 teams that are good over many years, like Boise State, like a decade ago, that eventually can work their way up to the big leagues, and you get these crap teams like Colorado for the last decade, and they can actually kind of play down to the competition they were at. And I think that would at least like one get you the big names you want, while also making there be a chance some of these other teams can eventually play for a national championship.
Yeah. Oh, so speaking of the Big 12, or not the Big 12, the Pac-12, or Boise State is what I meant to say. Speaking of Boise State, the Pac-12 lives ish,
barely,
kinda.
Does it live? How many does it need to have to survive? Is it
needs
8
8
teams?
full
8
full teams.
Okay, gotcha.
So like Gonzaga's talking about joining, but Gonzaga doesn't have a football team.
Yeah.
Hawaii's talking about joining, but Hawaii doesn't have certain sports. So it's like the remaining teams that have been like, yeah, we'll definitely come in as like, well, yeah, but some people joke like, well, maybe Gonzaga will make a football team, and
that would be hilarious. I'd be so on board for that. They would get destroyed for the first like 5 years. It'd be incredible.
Probably the first like 10 to 15 years.
It'd be tough.
They would probably, their boosters would probably throw like a ton of money at it, to the point where they would probably get like better sooner rather than later. But
yeah,
but their boosters also love basketball, so
it's a basketball school. You can't like
they did have some NFL guys back in the day, but they stopped after World War II having a football team. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're talking back in the day being World War II times, then that's barely a thing. Back then, Army was like the powerhouse of the country. Like,
well, I'm just
in
saying,
more ways than one.
It's true.
I'm just saying that
you don't become back-to-back World War champs without.
I'll tell you what team Army. I think the Pac-12 should invite, because it's an OG member.
Who's that?
The Idaho Vandals.
That'd be cool.
Ooh, let's go. Bring them up from FCS. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Bring them back.
They struggled in FBS for so many years, and they're finally like, yeah, we can win in FCS.
Right.
Like, nope, you're coming back. We need someone to beat on.
Right. We'll give you this giant check every year to
I mean, I would love to see more teams play in the Kibbe Dome, so... supposedly it is like a weird place to play in.
Is it really?
If you ever get,
it's like an arena. It's like an arena, basically. It's not like a full size football field. It's basically like one of those practice. Do you remember like back in the old NCAA games, you had like that indoor practice field, and there was like bleachers along the side, sort of thing.
Yes.
That's kind of the Kibbe Dome.
Really?
It's kind of a weird. Yeah, it's basically like a basketball court, but with like instead there's a football field. Like just like
I
look it up
hate
on.
this.
Yeah, no, and so people hate playing in there because it's like
The outside
what
looks
the freak?
like an indoor tennis. Like looking at it from the outside, that's so weird.
But yeah, if you look inside, it's just like a
Yeah.
high school basketball court with like just regular bleachers on each side. And,
God, that is so weird. There's no room behind the end zone. There's
Oh, yeah.
like 10 feet, and then you
it
got
would be
concrete
so much
wall.
fun, though, to see like
So stupid.
Washington State have to go in there and play.
I would love
See,
for
like,
them
these
to
huge
schedule
schools just, like,
Alabama.
come in
Yeah.
and- oh my gosh! Well, no, but Alabama would never agree to go to Idaho.
Oh, 100% they wouldn't, but I think it would be hilarious.
Anyways, but
So the Pac-12 right now, so they have who is it? Oregon State and Washington State, right? Those are the only two full members currently. Is that am I right
currently,
about
yes,
that? Yeah.
and then
they have
but then
San
they've
Diego
got
State,
confirmed joins from San Diego State, Fresno State, Boise State,
Colorado State.
Colorado State, and Utah State.
Okay.
I think that's the whole list.
That is 7. Yeah.
And so they're talking Gonzaga. They're talking. There's even talk like maybe Gonzaga and St. Mary's come and make the Pac-12 really interesting in basketball because then
That would be really good in basketball. Yeah.
You'd have some really good basketball schools in there. Utah State's pretty decent in basketball. You've got is Washington State, I think, one of the good basketball schools in there. San Diego State's had good teams.
Colorado State hasn't been bad.
But anyways, it would make them an interesting basketball league. Not necessarily like top line. Obviously, the ACC and the Big 12 would still rule basketball. But
1,000%, yes.
Like without any, questions about it. Because it's like the Big 12, and then a slight drop, and you got the ACC, and then a big drop, and you've got the SEC.
Yeah, 100%.
And the Big 10.
Can I share a fun stat?
Yeah, what's up?
So, Kellen DeBoer is 30-3 as a power conference coach, and he is a combined 6-0 against Kirby Smart, Dan Lanning, Steve Sarkisian.
That's wild.
That is a hell of a stat.
Yeah, so but it is interesting because I thought that the Pac-12's best way was going to be just to take in the Mountain West.
Right, which I mean they essentially have done
a
lot of that.
Well, no, but it sounds like there was a while where that was like being discussed.
Mhm.
But I think financial, so there's some financial figures that the Mountain West is just like, no, this doesn't make any sense for us.
Right.
For you guys to basically like take us in. So it was like, and after a while they were like, well, we'll just poach all your schools. And now they're suing the Mountain West to try not to have to actually pay out the agreements, poaching rules. They're saying the poaching rules in the agreement aren't legal.
Oh,
And
that's going to get
I have
ugly then.
no idea, but that is going to get
That's
super
going to get
ugly.
super ugly.
especially because if it does come out, like if the courts do come out and say, yeah, no, those poaching the poaching part of that contract is void, then the schools that agreed to stay, like Air Force and UNLV,
Mhm.
who are basically told like we're going to give you a ton of money as a signing bonus, and then I think they are actually getting like there's been talk like they're going to have like a slightly bigger piece of the pie in the Mountain West.
Right.
It's like if that all goes up in smoke, basically, like the signing bonus at the very least goes up in smoke, it's like, maybe they do end up moving, and then it's like, then the Mountain West is the conference that loses out the teams it needs. So
Maybe that's how Idaho and North Dakota end up in
what was
getting pushed
interesting was
up,
the
right?
Mountain West,
into the Mountain West.
website did have a thing like where its standings showed Idaho for a second.
Did it really? Interesting. And
Yeah, but some people are saying it was like a placeholder thing that they were like trying to do like a template for something else.
placeholder, yeah. That
But my wondering is maybe Idaho is like already in talks. But
I
that
would bet
be
a lot
weird.
of those.
It would be a little weird though, because like I said, Idaho seems very happy to be winning in Division 2 rather than getting destroyed in Division 1.
The thing is, though, the money in Division 1 is more. So you being mid in Division 1, I guarantee you makes the school way more money than being awesome in Division 2. Like that's got to be the case,
but
right?
the thing is because they were in FBS for so long, they can take that. They get a lot of like opponents like Wyoming and the Mount West schools,
That's
and like
true.
even some Big Ten schools and things, and some of the Western schools that are playing them, and they get money from that. They get money from traveling out to Stanford to get crushed.
Yep.
Like. So it's like they're probably fine to be like, I don't know what if the money's any better, because you have to spend a lot of money to run an FBS program. So it's like maybe running an FCS program where you visit these FBS programs to get destroyed.
Yeah,
it gets you slightly better funding.
Interesting.
So
I don't know. It's gonna be weird how that all plays out over the next like year.
My wondering is there's a decent enough basketball school, and they've had decent enough football programs over the years. I'm wondering if another school in Utah, it's called Weber State, might end up in the Mountain West or even in the Pac-12.
Oh yeah, Dame Lillard.
Weber State, yeah. That's what I was about to say. Was Damon Lillard went to Weber State, and they've had a couple of good years here and there with basketball. So it's like you could see them being like, "Well, we'll put you in there and see how you do." So
yeah, it'll be interesting. For sure.
Anyways, it's all interesting.
It is.
Oh, so we were talking. We didn't really talk the NIL stuff with the.
We did not,
because I told you I had stuff NIL stuff for this.
You have NIL stuff. I want to hear it.
So
I have NIL thoughts too.
We talked about this briefly beforehand, but I was like, I don't like NIL the way it's brand now. I didn't love it when it was decided to be brought in.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't always on the side of like, let's pay everybody. But I was always on kind of the side of, at the very least, they should be allowed to go out and like use their name, image, and likeness. There shouldn't be something preventing them necessarily.
Yep, agreed.
Now it's like they need at least a certain amount of like structure.
Yes, that is what they're missing now. It is the Wild West right now, and that's why we're in this situation with UNLV, right? The quarterback. There was
There's absolutely no structure. There's no legal protections. Nope. It's like it's not good for the schools or for the players.
No, it sucks for everybody.
Well, and I should say it's good for the players who are really good, like you're starting like your Cam Risings of the world.
Shedeur Sanders doing KFC commercials, dude.
Shedeur Sanders. You know what was funny was when that commercial came out, I was almost surprised that it hadn't already happened because their last name is Sanders.
That is
like
true,
Colonel Sanders and
Deion should have been working with them years ago.
I was like, how is Deion not doing this? But you know, it's just one of those things where I was like, Sanders. Oh, Sanders.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I literally never thought about that until you mentioned it. Literally just now. That's incredible.
But no, it's just one of those things where it's like they need to do more structure, and then there's stuff coming down the pipeline. It's because right now schools aren't even allowed to, like, they're not supposed to mention in recruiting like, hey, we can pay you a lot of money,
right?
Because the idea that the courts thought when they allowed NIL to go through, when the courts like made the rulings that allowed that overruled the NCAA's bans on NIL,
right?
Was the idea was this will allow the players to go out and like get their money, like just like, you know, advertise with Jiffy Lube or whatever,
right?
And it's like, nope, that's not how this is going. The coaches are definitely going out and the collectives are saying, hey, Coach Sanders, tell this guy we'll pay him $1.5 million to come play for us. It's like we really want to see Colorado go out and win a championship, sort of thing. And it's like that's how it's going. It's
yeah. And
that's part of why Reggie Bush, he recently announced he's suing USC and
the NCAA.
I think the NCAA.
I think it is the NCAA.
There's something else I think that he included in that.
Probably the Pac-12, I'm guessing.
It's the same thing because he's just saying like, you guys are still breaking the rules you set,
right?
And I'm in trouble for those rules. Like,
yeah, he seems to be the one that probably got this ball in motion, right? Like he's been like the most high profile.
Him and Johnny Manziel.
Terrell Pryor was another pretty big one.
Yeah, there was a few.
Yeah, there's been a couple. But Reggie Bush is the one I think of
He's the most
first.
successful
1,000%. Yeah.
athlete
He had a
that
good
advocated
NFL
for all
career.
this.
Yeah.
Because like Johnny Manziel's like, I don't like the NCAA, blah 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 blah, and then it's like, you aren't that successful anyways. But not in the NFL. I mean, in college he was
great in college. Yeah.
But no, it's I don't know. Spects and I have talked about this before on our old podcast, but it's like I just want to see just a little bit more structure. And like I said, the lawsuits that are coming down, the settlements that are being had will allow all schools to have like an even pot of like $20 million a year to dish out to players and things. But the settlements haven't been accepted by all the conferences yet, so it's still kind of waiting down the pipeline, and so it's just kind of one of those things where it's like I just need structure. I just need players to be able to easily sign when they come in and just say, "This is how much I'm getting. If I want to make any more on top of this, I can."
Right, and that's how it should work, right? It should be these guys are working a job. Let's pretend they're student athletes or whatever, but it should be no different than you or I getting a job, right? We should have some kind of guarantee. This is our pay, and whether there's bonuses or like they want to go out and get a deal with Wheaties or whatever, be able to supplement that income. But I agree, the structure is 100% needed because it is just kind of like whatever, and it's whoever knows the richest people get the players.
Yeah,
and like it isn't good for the sport, even though I'm 1,000% on board with them getting paid. I always have been. I've never been one to do anything for free, like internships, stupid, pay the kids. But the reason they did this in the first place is the NCAA didn't want to lose any of the money that they're making, right? They're like, you can get paid, it's just not by us, because all those commissioners and all the higher ups, they are lining their own pockets with all this money. They're not gonna lose. It's like a CEO in any business, right? So like,
yeah.
There does need to be some kind of forced like standard for players and athletes, right? Where hey, you play this sport, you're guaranteed this salary, and you start 10 games, you get a bonus or whatever it is. Like just structure like the NFL. Like let's not pretend college is an amateur sport. Like college football, it's not an amateur sport, not anymore. It was 50 years ago, but it's a professional sport now.
Like, I mean, and what I mean is when I say structure, I think there needs to be a structure that like evens it out a bit
between schools. 100%.
All schools should be able to say like, all right, we all have a $20 million pot. Yep. There are certain like caps on this and that, and we're gonna direct more of the collectives' money sort of thing. The schools will direct more of the collectives rather than collectives just coming out and saying, hey, yeah, man, we'll pay you $20 million. And the problem I have with a lot of it, in that it's weird, is a lot of these guys aren't actually benefiting from necessarily a name, image, and likeness. What a lot of these collectives are doing is it's just a bunch of rich guys going, I want this best player to be at my school.
Yeah.
All right, I got this money. What do you want me to do to like promote you? And it's just like, yeah, I don't really need you to promote me. I just want BYU, or I just want,
right.
Like BYU right now, their basketball team this year. I mean, look, I say all this, it's benefiting BYU's basketball team. They got like, there's this guy who's coming in just recently. I forget his name. It's like Boscovich or something. Who like they've got some of these guys who were playing like pro overseas. Yegor Demin, he's supposed to be a lottery pick next year. Cannon Catchings is also supposed to be a lottery pick next year. And these are guys that BYU in the past would not have gotten. But Ryan Smith, who owns the Utah Jazz, is like coming in going, just come to BYU. And now BYU is considered the favorite for, there's a guy who he was playing somewhere on the East Coast, I can't remember. But him and this other guy moved to Utah prep school. And his name's AJ DeBonsa, and he's
mentioned him before, yeah.
He's next year's Cooper Flagg, basically.
That's bold. That's bold.
Yeah, he's supposed to like but people are saying like he's gonna be like a number one type player, like he's a franchise changing kind of player.
Gotcha.
But BYU, who would never in the past have had a chance at the number one player in the recruiting trails.
Right.
Is now all the word is basically unless they screw up their official visit with him, he's probably going to pick him because they also are really heavily recruiting his friend JJ Mandequit, who's also supposed to be really good.
Gotcha.
So it's like there's all this stuff going on, and it's like it benefits me, but I still want to see more structure.
Yeah, it needs it, right? It's gonna spiral out of control if it, this UNLV quarterback is the first one.
You're going to see more of these guys from the UNLV.
1,000%. Yeah, and they'll be higher profile guys too.
I honestly think he's the first one that was bold enough, and now you're going to see more guys in maybe not necessarily this year, but in the coming years, who are like,
see a lot of them.
You know what? Sluka last year didn't get his money, right? So maybe I should also just, tell him I'm not going to play if I'm not going to get my money.
Or they're going to start demanding pay raises, similar to the NFL with contract holdouts. There's going to be players that are going to do that. Be like, hey, I need another $100,000. Someone give me $100,000 type of thing.
You need to set up the NIL to be better than the NFL.
Yeah.
You need to set up the NIL to be as airtight as NBA well, actually, the NBA probably is your best example.
I think that's the most airtight when it comes to contract structure.
Both the MLB and the NFL's structure are both there's just enough holes in them to make them
there's a lot of holes
have arbitration. It feels like every other year with every player.
Yep.
It's and then the NFL is just like you said, it's contract holdouts.
Holdouts happen all the time, right?
There's only a certain amount of the contract that's guaranteed, so you're sitting there saying,
yeah, guarantee the rest of my contract or I'm not going to play. Like the Hassan Reddick for the Jets, who still isn't playing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
exactly. So it's just it's make it better than that.
Yeah,
make it better than that. Make it so these college players can come in because I don't know.
There just needs to be an expectation of salary. There's not much budging. Moving on that. If you want to go find third party, whatever, do it on your own time type of thing. But yeah. I will say long term though for Sluka, I do wonder how much he hurts himself with NFL teams. In the future, not necessarily right now, he's probably not super worried about it, but well, yeah, but do you think maybe NFL teams are you were already bold enough to be holding out for better pay? Well, I mean, they've already had to deal with
us at the drop of a hat.
The thing is, though, they've already had to deal with players coming in that would bring their organization heat for various reasons, right? Whether it be, off the field garbage or them, taking money under the table before in college. If the talent's there, the NFL has an appetite to deal with anything. I mean, Deshaun Watson still has a job, and the Browns paid him a bunch of money, so there's really nothing. There's not much NFL really talented players can do to destroy their shot at the NFL at this point.
So, but yeah, no, I mean, it'll be interesting to see as these lawsuits all get settled, if the structure gets to the point where it's finally okay, at least we're there.
Right.
The players are getting their money. And it's being done in a way where the schools can all have fair shakes at different players and
yes,
agreed. By the way, I have a theory that Ryan Smith, who's the owner of the Jazz, part of the reason that he's throwing so much money at BYU is because he loves BYU. But the other part of it, I think, is because he's trying to kind of create a pipeline to the Utah Jazz for a lot of these talented kids, where even if the Jazz aren't in a position to draft them, that maybe once they their first rookie contract is up, they can go to him and be like, so hey AJ, you remember how I used to give you all the money in the world? I can do that again,
right? This time officially.
We've got a good relationship already, so you might as well come and play for me. And it's that's my theory, is so that some of these guys down the line, it's
that is interesting. I guess we'll see how that turns out in the next decade or so. But yeah. All right. Well, I guess speaking of NBA, do we want to talk about the NBA, Karl Anthony Towns to the Knicks trade?
That was wild.
That was unexpected to say the least.
I'm confused.
So
why Minnesota did that?
I'm in the same boat. So I don't understand why Minnesota would do it. There has to be something else because they destroyed their spacing.
because Julius Randle is good.
He's
Like,
fine. He's fine.
He's fine. And who was the other guy?
Dante DiVincenzo.
DiVincenzo.
Yeah.
DiVincenzo is also
fine.
very good.
A good
They're
off the
both
bench
very
3-point
good.
shooter, sure.
Yeah.
Fine. But
it's like, are they investing like so much into Gobert and Anthony Edwards that they're just kind of like, cool.
Well, so that's the thing with this is, I guess Karl Anthony Towns has, I think, 3 or 4 years left on his contract. So when Anthony Edwards is up for another extension, they're going to get screwed by the second apron super hard. And from a financial perspective, I think if them grabbing Randle and DiVincenzo instead, those contracts will run out sooner. So I think that gives them more flexibility in the future. But I think it totally screws their team as a whole. Because if you think about their starting lineup, you have Gobert, who can't shoot. You have Randle, who can't shoot. You have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who's okay as a shooter. And then you have Ant and Mike Conley, who are good shooters, right? So you're destroying the spacing of the team to save some money. Like, I don't understand. Like, their window is now, and it seems like they're like destroying it for monetary purposes.
Yeah, no, I was just confused because it's like I felt like they were like a piece, like a solid, like I don't know who's the like
they were like a Dante DiVincenzo away with KAT.
Yeah, yeah, maybe if you could have gotten somebody like that in free agency. Well, for some reason my brain kept pulling up like JJ Redick or Andre Iguodala sort of thing.
That type of player, right? As a role player off the bench.
I thought they were like one either really good shooter or just like a super good glue guy away, where they could have like just taken that and pretty much walked their way into the finals.
Yeah, and instead,
maybe like still have some trouble with Denver, but like still like.
Well, and what I love about this for me is this basically their whole defensive game plan against Denver that worked last year. They got rid of it because the whole Karl Anthony Towns guarding Jokic worked amazing. And
I do wonder if there's a little bit of wanting to clear like the logjam down low because
well, but they just created more of it.
But Gobert wasn't as effective. Well, yeah, but I'm talking like defensively.
Oh, I see.
Gobert wasn't as effective down low because he had to like watch out for KAT, like, and you can move Julius Randle around a bit more. You can like these are guys who can guard better on the perimeter than Towns could. I'm not saying Towns couldn't guard on the perimeter, just he wasn't as good at it.
Right.
And so now you allow Gobert to stay down low and be that like
anchor, yeah,
water swatting things away. So I do wonder if like you're trying to like. I know weirdly enough, like this sounds it sounds crazy to me, but like maybe they're trying to clear up like defensive issues they had between Gobert and Towns, and they chose to go with Gobert because, well, first of all, they have so much invested in him, and also I think he is the better choice defensively. Than Towns.
Thing is, I don't know.
He's premier defensive.
He is. But, I mean, so
now you can maybe scheme around it a bit better, but it's still weird. It feels like now you're what was that, a 6-game series between Denver and Minnesota?
It was 7. We blew it in the second half of Game 7. Yeah.
And so I still think they could push it to 6 or 7 with Denver, but like now you just like Towns could take over a game and like win it for you.
Yes.
And now like you still have Anthony Edwards, who will be probably stepping up this year even further than he was, but it's just like I don't know. You wonder if there's like locker room dynamics.
And that's the thing is like from all the reports I read, Anthony Towns, he loves Minnesota, and I think he's one of the few athletes that have loved the Timberwolves that much. But like it seems like it all kind of worked out, right? Like there was some like bad vibes, not last year but the year before, but last year it was all gravy. So yeah, I don't know. Your defensive argument could make some sense, I guess. I just don't understand why you would just like offensively. That's going to be a disaster to me. And I understand DiVincenzo's a nice bench piece, but at the same time, you could probably sign something similar in free agency. Seth Curry, let's go grab Seth Curry. He's usually pretty cheap every single year. like, so yeah, the Minnesota side is weird. What do you think about the Knicks side of it though? Like.
for the Knicks.
I like it for the Knicks too.
The thing I don't,
except for they got rid of the Villanova boys, which is sad.
Here's the thing I do have with any NBA team.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like the Lakers and any NBA team is like I don't know, like the Lakers. I've been for the past couple of years just saying like, just trade away everybody. Like, let's just like try to reload for like 5 years down the road.
Right.
And instead, it's like, no, we're just gonna like get a team that maybe makes the playoffs, or that probably makes the playoffs, but like isn't necessarily set to make a run.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I don't know, Minnesota, that's why it didn't make sense for me with Minnesota. They were contenders before, and now I feel like
they've knocked out
really borderline. Yeah. Maybe if they get lucky, if some stuff swings their way in the playoffs, they might make the finals. But like, they're not set up to beat the Celtics.
No,
and so well, and so whereas with Towns, they might have been able to compete. Yep. So it's just like, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. And so from the Knicks side of things, it's that same kind of thing. It's like, you're making this big move, but for what? Like I guess like you got to make a move regardless. Like, you need like a piece, and then like maybe they are thinking in the future, because like now they can offer Towns a bunch of money when his contract comes up, and try to extend him and try to make him your centerpiece for the future. But like next year, it's not going to help them beat the Celtics, right? Like, so that's my whole thing though recently is like, are you really a contender? Because if you're not, why are you investing any amount of anything into your team? Just go for the draft picks and
right. And well, at least for the Knicks, I think this is Karl Anthony Towns is a much better fit than Julius Randle, right? Again, I'm not a huge Julius Randle fan, but he's someone that's ball dominant to be able to be effective, especially offensively. He can't shoot three. Well, the Knicks already have Jalen Brunson kind of running the show, doing all the ball handling. He's their main scorer. They play a very like pass focused, kick it out type of game with Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, like all these other guys that can shoot threes. So like, and the fact that Mitchell Robinson's going to be hurt too might play a factor, because now they have an actual center they can play for the first part of the year. But it also might be, I read something today that I guess Dante DiVincenzo was not super happy in New York, which is, I guess, may have like helped push this trade to happening a little bit. Even though he was one of the Villanova boys, and I am a little disappointed we didn't get to see all four of them play together now that they got Mikal Bridges too. So, I don't know. I kind of like this one for the Knicks.
I do wonder though if Minnesota is hoping that the Knicks just kind of nick it up. Because they did get that first round pick.
Well, it's Detroit's pick.
It's from Detroit.
Oh, Detroit.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's going to be a good pick.
I'm wondering if that's what sweetened the pot for them, was saying, you know what, we're probably not gonna. Maybe they did think like me, Minnesota. Maybe they thought
they didn't think that they would be able to get through.
We're not going to get through this year. So why don't we just take that pick? Why don't we just take that pick, get Cooper Flag,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden you've got Cooper Flag playing alongside Anthony Edwards, and Cooper Flag can develop super well beneath Anthony Edwards, and just like all of a sudden you're, 2-3 years down the line, all of a sudden you
have the salaries coming off the bush and get another
really
star
hitting huge, and you get Cooper Flag on the cheap because he's a rookie. On a rookie scale contract, so it's like do just wonder about all that.
Is Tim Connolly playing 4D chess? I think that. Maybe. I mean, that kind of makes sense, honestly. I didn't even think about it from that angle because I was ignoring the pick. That is how I
play when I play NBA 2K.
Yeah.
When I'm a GM, when I play my GM, is I am constantly going, well, you know what? I'm going to trade all my good players away for draft picks. Like, especially if I like it. There's a point a lot of the time too where I get into like, I have like the guys on the rookie scale, but they're like amazing sort of thing, like 5 years in, and then I'll trade them for like that next year's first round or like first pick in the draft, and then just like 2-3 years down the line, I've won 3 championships in a row again. So it's like you wonder if maybe Minnesota's starting to go in like this whole like.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they do have a lot of years with Anthony Edwards. They wait a year or two, get probably a top 3 pick this year because Detroit's going to suck. and then develop him. They're able to probably in the next couple of years offload Gobert, all their other big salaries like Conley and stuff, to maybe kind of get the third piece to go with, potentially Flag and Edwards. It's an interesting idea. It's really bold, but I guess Conley's done bold stuff before, like getting Gobert. That was a pretty bold move at the time. So, interesting.
Yeah,
long season.
We just had Brandon not talking there for like a good 20 minutes.
I've talked,
Brandon.
I've talked on BCS, and I'm not going to open that can of worms again. So no, I think you guys are right. Like, I think the draft pick said the only thing is, if Minnesota's going to flip, I think they're going to flip Randle for something else. That's my guess, is they have somebody lined up for Randle. But on the New York side, there's something where it's like no NBA team in the last decade has won a title without at least 2 All-Stars on the team.
Denver.
So for New York, oh, that's right, because the Jokic
has been our only All-Star. He's never played with another All-Star teammate.
He's never played with an All-Star teammate.
Yeah.
But
except
it's
for this year.
our star, or quote-unquote star players.
Jamal Murray is basically
during the playoffs, that dude's all NBA.
So you've never had so New York needed a star. They don't have don't have one.
Yeah, I guess outside of Brunson, they have a bunch of really good players, but no stars.
And like I said, I think hilariously at this point, it's just a matter of Miami loses out on another star that easily Miami could have gotten.
Yeah.
If they can get out of their own way with, Bam's too good to be traded, X, Y, and Z's too good. Tyler Hero and Bam can't be traded. Where it's like,
I don't think you trade Bam.
they're living in the 2020 finals.
I think they're living in the 2020 finals. It's Miami Heat fans the Miami Heat fans and Miami Heat organization have a very weird way of CJ and I have talked about this. They overvalue their own talent, and when that talent gets to a point where they need to, they could use him or to get something else, they don't do it. It's Tyler Hero's the prime example of it. They could have flipped Tyler Hero for KAT.
They could have flipped him a million times by now. Yeah.
And they chose not to, and everyone's like, why? Well, he's too good.
But is he good? Where Miami could have gotten
but is he good as KAT?
Dame Lillard.
They could have gotten Dame Lillard.
There was 2 theories. Yeah, there was 2 theories that they didn't want to give up Tyler Hero for him, and if that's the case, Pat Riley's a fucking moron. Or 2, they didn't. The GM wanted to basically blue ball Miami and took quote unquote the lesser offer.
I will say this: I think in the past,
but that's also That's also what Miami thinks. I don't think that was the case. I don't think they wanted their trash.
I think the last time that Pat Riley was a good front office guy was 2004, and then
once he got LeBron.
Yeah.
No. So he's what he ends up getting. That's what I'm saying. What he's ended up doing is he's gotten really kind of lucky twice. Once with Shaq, because the Lakers were just like, this is untenable with Shaq and Kobe. We're choosing Kobe here. And then he was like, here, I'll give you a bunch of players. And they were the only reason that happened was because they were the only team with the assets.
Yeah.
It wasn't because, and then before that, that's what I'm saying. Up to that point, he had been a decent front office guy because he had collected the right assets in the right way, but was willing to do the right thing at the right time. But then he got lucky in 2011 that when LeBron, Bosh, and Wade got together, that they were like, yeah, you know what? Miami sounds like it would be a fun place to play. That'd be a party town. Let's go party and have fun at beaches and stuff and whatever.
The thing with Pat Riley,
that's who they decided to go to. That they didn't decide, well, no, let's go make history in Toronto, or hey guys, come up to Cleveland.
The thing with Pat Riley is, and he'll never admit it, and I don't think anyone near him will admit it. Pat Riley's big thing is he wants to prove every day to the Lakers and the Buss family that he didn't need them to do what he did. That it was all him.
The Lakers didn't need Pat Riley over these years.
No, that's the point.
That's the point. We needed for so many years.
That's the point. It's I sort of laugh and say the Miami culture is nothing more than we're better than the Lakers, and I'm going to prove it to them that that I'm better than them. And he hasn't done it He hasn't done
Do you
it.
think that's? Do you think that's?
I think that's part of the issue.
Do you think that's why they retired Michael Jordan's jersey as an FU to Kobe to get at Lakers fans? Do you think that?
It wouldn't shock me. I think it's one of those weird.
It's a petty move.
If you were to tell me Pat Riley's exceptionally petty, especially when it comes to Lakers, I don't doubt it. But I do think by the opposite side of that coin is if Jeannie Buss told him, "Hey, come back and be a president of basketball operations," he'd be out of Miami before like the phone call ended. Like,
oh yeah, 100%.
That's the whole thing. So whenever they talk about like these Heat guys, will always talk about Miami culture and stuff, and I'm like, there is no culture. It's Pat Riley trying to prove that he made the Lakers back in the '80s, and he hasn't let go of that in however many years.
So I will say,
that's why he talks about like all this development stuff and buying into the culture. Is there's a reason why they can't get any talent down there. It's not that they don't have the assets for it. It's that no one wants to buy into his nonsense. Yeah. Like the only players who are there are guys drafted into it, like Bam, Tyler.
Yeah, but like Jimmy Butler.
Apparently, Jimmy likes it, but Jimmy's also a psychopath who apparently
Jimmy kind of fell into Miami too. It wasn't a. I want to be in Miami. It was everybody else is kind of like
Philly sucks, Minnesota sucks, Chicago sucks.
But the whole thing too, though, is I think with Jimmy,
I think most people were like, like I think the Lakers were willing to, but the Lakers were even.
Well, that was a joke. Well, that was part of the joke this offseason was it was sort of like he kind of. I think that was part of the reason why he was there. He was at like the Sparks games. I think he was toying the idea to like I said. Goes back to Riley, where it's like, oh, what's the one thing Jimmy can do that'll piss off Pat Riley? Oh, I'll go to the Sparks games and which are Lakers colors, and say I really like Cameron Brink and how she plays. I'll support the W, but I can also send the message of, hey, I'm in LA, in the Staples Center. What you gonna do?
Crypto.com arena
or Crypto.com arena, where like
it's always gonna be the Staples Center to me.
Because that's the whole thing. It's like if you are, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, what's Miami gonna do? But it's like if you're Miami and they just got KAT, what the hell are you guys doing? You haven't done jack. Yeah. You haven't gotten a star in years, and you're in on these stars, and all of a sudden they don't want to come here. It was Bradley Beal. It was KAT. It's Dane. It's this laundry list of things, and it's like, all right, Pat, what are you gonna do? Oh, you're not gonna do anything again. Okay, we're gonna hit on Gabe Vincent. That's our guy.
Hey, Gabe Vincent was good for a little bit.
I'm not saying he wasn't good, but that's my point. It's like they take these shots on these guys and say, "Oh, he's good," and then the minute he leaves, he turns into a puddle.
Yeah, they've figured something weird out, and I think a lot of it's just Spoelstra because he's an incredible coach. I don't know.
I think it's Spoelstra, and I think they have an idea of like finding shooters who can shoot and basically just like tap into that for a handful of years, and then once it's gone, it's like they can just replace that.
Yeah, Max Strus, for example. So he's pretty good.
Yeah, Max Strus is kind of like that. Like Kendrick Nunn's another one, where it's like, oh, he was.
What happened?
He did the thing.
Nunn?
He was with Washington last year.
Was he really?
I think the funniest thing that ever happened. I mean, we can end on this note because I'll never find it not hilarious. Was in 2020. The Lakers signed Dion Waiters, who got kicked out of Miami because I think he smoked on a plane, and the Lakers signed him.
That's classic Dion Waiters.
Just to get him a ring, and it was the funniest thing ever. It was like Dion gets his rings, and it was just like, it was just an FU move to the Heat. It's like he played like a whole 2 minutes or something, but like, nope, Dion gets a ring. Shove it, Riley.
NBA champion Dion Waiters. Never thought I'd see the day.
Is that the weirdest one?
I mean, there's a lot of weird guys that have rings. So,
my favorite MLB one is MLB champion Jeff Mathis.
Jeffrey Mathis, Atlanta Braves legend. That's when I changed. That's when I changed and I said everyone needs to show him some respect. You want a ring? Braves legend. Braves legend. 2020 NBA champ. Dion Waiters, 2021 champion Jeffrey Mathis.
Yeah,
I think what is Jeff Mathis's? Is Jeff Mathis's career average even above 200?
No, it's not. 194.
I love it.
But he was great defensive catcher, if you ask Mike Scioscia.
Yeah, I mean,
that's all. That was his entire shtick. Was his defense? His highs. His highest batting average in a full year was hilariously
Does the defensive metrics,
276.
what was his defensive? Jeff Mathis's defensive WAR.
His actual WAR was dog water.
Yeah, no, but what was his was he even anywhere good on the defensive WAR?
I think the defensive WAR loved him.
A 2.2 average over 162
that's pretty good.
games.
12.6 defensive WAR overall.
Yeah,
Yeah,
12.6 total overall.
The defensive that's why he kept getting things, because he was just such his framing
176 all time in defensive WAR, so that's
solid.
All things considered, that's a solid player. Like in terms of defense, although that's partially because he's able to build up his total his total DWAR to, because teams kept inexplicably putting him out on the field.
They kept him. Like, the hilarious thing is like, he played 86 games in 2019 for the Rangers, and then he played a third of the season in 2020 with the Rangers, and then he played in a whopping 3 games with Atlanta, but he got a ring that year.
Anyways,
batted 0, by the way. He went 0 for 5.
Yeah.
He went 0 for 9.
But the defense, dude.
OPS plus of minus 100. Bryce's favorite angel.
Oh yeah. Not Troy Glass, definitely Jeff Mathis.
You and your brother are the only people who actively defended Jeff Mathis, and I thought it was hilarious.
At the time, I did, because I don't know. When he played with the Angels, though, he was still decently early in his career, to the point where I thought, well, maybe he'll turn it around and then he'll be good defensively. But it was a mistake to let
his career at the time. His career average between 2005 2011, the 6 years he was an Angel, his batting average was 194, on base percentage of 257, slugging 301. On base percentage, on base plus slugging of 557, OPS plus of 50. Yeah,
I'm guessing that's all really bad.
That's tough.
Yes, that's awful.
That's bad.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah,
he hit a grand total. His average home run and RBI total was 4 and 20. The guy's career, like his full career, was 26 homers to 139 RBIs.
Hey man, 2008
and
hit
426 games. I'm sorry, what?
He hit 42 RBIs in 2008. Give him some respect, man. 9 homers. Hey.
All respect on Mathis' name.
He's 194 average. Let's go. He's hitting 1 and 5.
Champion.
Yeah.
His career high was 211. What the hell is this?
Anyways.
It's incredible.
That's enough Jeff Mathis talk.
Yeah,
I think Jeff Mathis out.
Do we have anything else? I think that's it. We talked football earlier this week, and obviously
all our more than I realized we would.
Yeah, we're an hour 18 in, so all right. I guess we'll end it there. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you're out there, it might just be us, but whatever. Who cares? Peace, dudes. We will do a midweek this week.